Hello, and welcome to our presentation on how to use generative AI to assist you in capture management. I'm Bruce Feldman, Principal Consultant at Lohfeld Consulting Group, and the lead instructor for our training on using generative artificial intelligence to do proposal work. I'm here today with Christian Ferreira, CEO and co-founder of Procurement Sciences. I've been doing business development, capture and proposal work for over 30 years, so I'm here today speaking from the user side, with thoughts on the what, how, and wow of using generative artificial intelligence to do capture work, with observations and lessons learned. My focus today is how we're using AI-assisted tools on the Procurement Sciences platform to facilitate capture best practices in a training environment. Today, we'd like to discuss how we provide that training, lessons we've learned, and information on the platform itself. Many of you are probably wondering if Gen AI is ever going to start to slide down from the peak of the hype cycle where it is today. I've seen articles where people write that Gen AI's impact will be as profound on our society as electricity, computers, the internet, you name it. Every day brings an announcement of new tools and features that multiply the power of generative AI. I think the most obvious and impressive feature of Gen AI is its ability to write new content. Some of the Gen AI tools write beautifully with well-formed paragraphs, perfect syntax, grammar, and punctuation, and with user-selected tone, style, and output. That capability has us immediately entranced with how Gen AI can help us write proposals faster, better, and cheaper. After having led several Gen AI training classes, where the students and I all work hands-on with Gen AI tools designed for proposal work, I can say that I'm a believer, but it raises an immediate question. Is Gen AI an equally powerful tool for business development and capture management activities that are less about synthesizing and packaging a compliant, responsive, and compelling case, and more about formulating the ideas that drive the win even before the RFP is in hand? In this presentation, I'm going to discuss how we at Lohfeld have prototyped a set of prompts using the prompt technique known as chain of thought to facilitate workshops for a capture management best practice called strength-based solutioning. The workshop starts with basic customer and opportunity intelligence and uses Gen AI as a partner and workshop facilitation tool for business developers, capture managers, solution architects, and subject matter experts. AI-assisted strength-based solutioning drives out a preliminary set of strength statements for your proposal before the RFP is released. The Gen AI is used to suggest ideas, capture workshop comments and changes, and progress through the strength-based solutioning process. We'll then give you a demonstration by Procurement Sciences Christian Ferreira that highlights new features in the platform to support both proposal development and capture. This workshop concept is done in a client-tenant environment, so your proprietary and private data is secured, protected from both corruption and leakage. Generative AI has impressive analytical and research capabilities, especially for information present in the training set used to train the AI. That information is supplemented with information from local and internet data sources using semantic search, a technique called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. The analytical capabilities present in Gen AI enable us to use it as more than just a tool for writing draft content. We'll discuss retrieval augmented generation in a few minutes. Let's take a moment, though, to contrast the difference in types of tasks performed in capture versus proposal development. In my opinion, those are profoundly different cognitive processes, and each has work components that can be done faster, better, and cheaper if we use AI as a tool. Now, capture work, as shown on the left, tends to be less structured. It's more about gathering information, building a strategy, influencing the customer, and developing a solution such that our proposal ultimately receives the winning score. At Lohfeld, we say that best informed wins, because in capture, we apply information not only to build a solution, but also to shape the solicitation and assess competing offerings. Capture is largely about research and synthesis. So while it may be challenging to judge the quality of result and therefore the return on investment, I think you will find that Gen AI in the hands of a trained solution architect and can significantly reduce the time and cost of many capture activities. In contrast, proposal work tends to be more structured, because ideally we have inputs such as a draft or final RFP and a preliminary solution. In proposal development, our focus is on presenting our case in a way that is compliant, responsive, and compelling. The application of Gen AI proposal work is obvious because Gen AI is so good at writing, and because you can guide the Gen AI to write in the structure and style that you want, whether through user prompts or through the AI's large language model fine-tuning or some combination of both. Gen AI's creativity is apparent in that we can use it for much more than research. We can harness its ability to speculate, to provoke thought on how a customer might choose to buy and how we might choose to respond. We can then have human experts evaluate and fuse Gen AI sourced ideas with human sourced ideas and use the Gen AI to capture the synthesis of the two. For research, we can use retrieval augmented generation to pull in external information to supplement the training information that is already in your foundation model. RAG lets you pull information from local corporate knowledge base or from the internet, mining those sources for information from solicitations, word notifications, past proposals, debriefs, corporate offerings, competitor websites, and other content. This information allows you to build a background for forecasting pre-RFP how the customer might choose to structure an upcoming solicitation. Alternatively, some platforms may fine-tune a generative AI's large language model, incorporating proprietary data to accomplish the same outcome. The performance and cost trade-off between using RAG at one end of the spectrum and fine-tuning at the other end of the spectrum will be critical to your selection of a generative AI platform. Gen AI can then be applied to that same data set to speculate on likely proposal response content that we can then begin to collect in advance of the RFP. Gen AI can be applied to estimate specifics of the solicitation, such as evaluation criteria, proposal structure, performance requirements, staffing, and similar content. Now, this is not to say that Gen AI is an oracle. Rather, it is a partner tool that capture manager, solution architect, and subject matter experts can use for its analytical and creative capabilities to develop inputs that they can then review, edit, add to, and delete. These revised inputs can be fed back into the Gen AI for deeper insight into the solicitation. I'm going to describe a capture manager use case for the capabilities of Gen AI shown in bold here on the chart. This use case is a Lohfeld best practice called strength-based solutioning. Now, this is the architecture we use for the generative AI activities. It's a platform from Procurement Sciences we're using for our training and clients. Each tenant has its own store of knowledge, uploaded files, and custom prompts, as well as access to the Lohfeld prompt library. It's worth noting that each tenant environment includes an engagement success manager, sysadmin support, and access to AI-trained proposal professionals. You don't want to make the mistake of assuming that a training class for a handful of your people is enough to bootstrap your way to success. Strength-based solutioning is a Lohfeld technique that is one of the many activities you do in the capture phase. It's a methodology for coming up with ideas for strengths that you incorporate into your proposal to boost your proposal score, but it must be done pre-RFP, preferably 6 to 12 months prior to the RFP release. The formula for strength-based solutioning requires pulling together and analyzing customer information and then correlating it with company capabilities. Obviously, this requires access to company proprietary data, which of course rules out using public and open AI platforms. I'm going to describe using Gen AI to facilitate a strength-based solutioning workshop with solution architects and subject matter experts. This is the structure of the output you get from strength-based solutioning. As we teach in our strength-based winning class, you start well in advance of the RFP, modeling the expected evaluation criteria and principal functional requirements for the program work statement. You can then identify critical emotionally charged issues, called hot buttons, that the customer associates with the evaluation criteria and requirements. From there, you identify solution features, benefits, and proof points that will make your proposal feature-rich and score strengths. Generative AI can help with the creative aspects of each of these steps to get you out of the box, stimulate innovation, and identify and mitigate risks. So here's a complex prompt for using generative AI to facilitate a workshop to develop your strength-based solutions. We envision the workshop as being run by your lead solution architect and supported by the opportunity business developer, capture manager, and subject matter experts. Each prompt implements a step in the process of building out the table in the previous chart. At each step in the workshop, we ask the generative AI platform for ideas on content. So these ideas become part of the discussion where attendees submit, add, edit, delete, or park ideas provided by the generative AI and the attendees. The conversational nature of generative AI allows the people in the room to ask follow-up questions and guide the output. Now, note the extensive use of RAG to query both the corporate knowledge base and, if you could wish, the internet. This is key to injecting both customer insight and corporate capability into the solution, while at the same time allowing for new ideas outside the box. So if you start at the prompt on the left-hand most side, you'll see that we're going to generate potential evaluation criteria. Remember, we're doing this, strength-based solutioning, 6 to 12 months prior to RFP release. So as input to the Gen AI, you're going to use RAG to solicit information from the acquisition background or evaluation criteria from recent solicitations, or if your prompt window is large enough, your context window is large enough, you may be able to submit even entire documents rather than using RAG. That's really very much dependent upon the platform you choose and how the information is available. But the point is, by using relevant information, we can then guide the Gen AI to recommend potential evaluation criteria that might be used in the solicitation, excuse me. Now, what happens in the workshop is that your BD, business developer, capture manager, solution architect, review the evaluation criteria and make whatever changes they deem necessary. You can also prompt the Gen AI using chain of thought to do follow-up. So if, for instance, you believe under technical approach, the customers can emphasize flexibility and innovation over rigor, you can then write a prompt to Gen AI to have it make revisions accordingly, according to what information you know and believe to be true. Now, once you have your list of potential evaluation criteria, you can do roughly the same thing with top-level potential functional requirements. And again, part of your input through RAG, or if possible, directly embedded in the prompt itself. You can input information on the acquisition background. You can put in the PWS from recent solicitations. You can put in PWS from similar solicitations for other customers. Whatever, again, you deem most appropriate to helping your Gen AI generate a list of meaningful functional requirements for your solicitation. And once again, business developer, capture manager, solution architect, and subject matter experts get together in the workshop setting, review the potential functional requirements, make whatever changes are deemed necessary, and then use the Gen AI to consolidate the potential evaluation criteria and potential functional requirements into a single list. Next, you would identify and map the hot buttons into evaluation criteria requirements. Gen AI can make recommendations for you. Gen AI knows what hot buttons are. If you're using a platform that doesn't know, you can just define it and then ask for those emotionally charged important issues that might map to each of the evaluation criteria and or functional requirements. And again, go through the workshop editing process. Now, having done this mapping of hot buttons and having a list now of evaluation criteria and functional requirements, you can now begin to identify information in your corporate capabilities that apply for a solution. So you can have it for your corporate knowledge management system. You can build a strengths registry and then retrieve information from that. You can use external research to look for solution ideas from external factors from the internet, other locations. And once again, you're going to provide a list or generate a list of solution features that, again, address the evaluation criteria and address the requirements and hopefully speak to or responsive to the hot buttons. The people in the room, capture managers, solution architects, SMEs, once again, go through the editing and amendment process to produce a comprehensive list of features, hopefully mapping multiple features to each criterion, each functional requirement. You can then go on to the next step and use Gen AI to recommend or identify benefits, experience, and proof points. Once again, using the retrieval augmented generation to search your corporate knowledge base of past proposals, past performance, customer debriefs for things that we can then quantify and use to substantiate our claims of benefit that our solution features offer. Once we settle on that final list of solution features, benefits, experience, proof points, we can then generate strength statements, which are relatively short paragraphs that, once incorporated in the narrative, position our strength statement to be well scored and evolved in such a way to fit into the narrative neatly. You can also use the same output to do gap analysis for teaming and for make-buy decisions on investment in your proposal response. And you can also use it to flesh out your proposal strengths budget. How many strengths can we generate per section of the bid? Now, I've mentioned several times in the presentation the idea of retrieval augmented generation as it's one of the best documented techniques for infusing information that is outside the training set of the generative AI's large language model. I want to make it clear that access to the corporate knowledge base or the internet happens before the prompt goes to the large language model where the generative AI magic happens. It's worth noting that because that means that your generative AI large language model is not communicating with the internet. Rather, information retrieved from the internet or outside of the generative AI itself is being pulled in an input to the large language model, and then you are receiving an output from the large language model. So RAG is best described as generating content that is combined with your prompt and then input to the large language model as shown in the chart. If you're wondering how RAG works, it employs a technique from natural language processing called semantic search. At the risk of oversimplifying, semantic search takes your request and looks for content that is closely aligned in meaning. It's not a lexical or word search. And the search can be applied to both the internet or to a local corporate knowledge repository. So we've prototyped this capability at Lohfeld, and at the end of a strength-based solutioning workshop, we've been able to generate a populated table of ideas for potential strengths in our proposals. Each strength is mapped to an evaluation criterion or requirement. You can have multiple strengths mapped to an evaluation criterion or requirement, so you can actually build a strengths budget. If your goal is winning and not just bidding, especially on best value opportunities, then you have to offer strengths that will score. A generic AI-generated response that doesn't take your company and teammates' capabilities into account can be compliant and responsive, but by definition will almost never be compelling. Developing your solution early offers obvious benefits. You can direct investment, guide teaming discussions, develop staffing profiles, and numerous other capture functions. In my opinion, one underappreciated aspect of early solution development is that it gives you the time and content for meaningful customer discussions. Vetting your solution with the customer enables you to both time your solution for maximum score and also may open the customer's eyes to alternative ways to satisfy and exceed their requirements. Generative AI helps you create the content you need to vet your solution with the customer. You can have AI generate questions that a customer might ask, so you can anticipate and prepare for your visit. It can format your ideas into white papers on evaluation and criteria and requirements, and help you generate leave behind questions and other content. When you get feedback from the customer, you can then iterate solution, again, with the assistance of your generative AI. So it's our conclusion that generative AI can help you improve the speed and reduce the cost of capture, as well as proposal development. My colleague Christian will now demonstrate some of the newest features of the Procurement Sciences bidding intelligence system to support capture and proposal.
Thanks, Bruce. That was very informative. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christian Ferreira. I am the founder and CEO of Procurement Sciences AI. We are a leading generative AI software development company that focuses on BD, capture, and proposal applications for government and commercial contractors. Our systems are built using some of the same algorithms that Bruce mentioned, specifically around RAG, which is Retrieval Augmented Generation. What that allows is for our algorithms to protect your data and your data privacy, but also while allowing you to use your own files to get more insights out of the AI. Our systems don't require costly model training to get started and can be rapidly deployed so your teams can find immediate value. So I'm going to start by giving you a demo of the automated bidding intelligence system. One thing to note is there's no right or wrong way to use this system. It is very flexible. You can perform a wide range of tasks using the different AI-powered tools, such as finding opportunities, evaluating opportunities for bid, no bid, performing market, competitor, and agency research, rapidly drafting proposals, RFIs, RFPs, fine-tuning your proposals, reviewing your proposals for compliance, readability, completeness, and even preparing for post-submission oral presentation prep, debrief analysis, and even much more. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to show you a quick demo of some of the different tools, some of the different ways to use this system, specifically around capture. So to start, what I can do, the bidding intelligence system, again, allows you to point to your files. So I can point directly to my files in my SharePoint, or I can upload my files. Here I'm pointing to a list of all of my contacts, and I'm simply going to ask the AI a question to help me find data. So the question I asked it was, what contacts do we have at the Army that specialize in AI? So it's looking through all of our information to build the answer. After it builds the answer, it's going to show me which files it actually used. This way I can verify the accuracy. So this is a conversational AI. What that means is that you're able to actually conversate back and forth with the artificial intelligence, meaning that the deeper you go into your conversation, the stronger it's going to get. So here, the next use case, I'm simply asking it to help me draft an email. I'm telling it some basic information such as where the industry event is at, who the target is, which is a procurement officer, and then trying to tell them what the objective is. So here I'm asking the AI to help me build a way to actually approach this procurement officer at this industry event, inviting them to talk about some new AI breakthroughs. Next, again, it's conversational, meaning that I can keep going deeper. So I can say, make the email more detailed, make it more inviting. I can change the tone, I can change the style, I can change the format. Next, I can even go as far as asking the AI to help me create a talking plan so that when I do talk to this procurement officer, I know exactly what sort of topics as well as talking points to actually touch on while communicating. Now again, you could keep asking follow-up questions to modify it the way you like, or you could take this, you could export it and start to fine-tune it in your own words. Some other ways, I can come in here and I can actually point to my data again. So this time I'm going to point to some recent industry day event reports that we have that our capture managers have collected. And now I'm just going to ask about some recent notes. So again, specifically around what did we talk about Army procurement officers with? What information can it extract? What pain points did we jot down last time we talked with them? That way when I go to this industry event, I'm ready to go. I can talk to them exactly where we left off. Another use case, which is very common, is just loading a simple RFP. So here I'm loading JETS 2, which is about a 300-page solicitation. And now traditionally, I would have to read through this entire document. Now instead, what I can do is before I have to read through it, I can use the AI to quickly sift through the document. So simply I'm asking the AI natural language questions, just like I would ask someone for an answer. So I'm asking it, what are the task areas? Very quickly, it tells me the 12 different task areas. Then I can go deeper. I can ask the AI to actually help me summarize some of these task areas. So I can say, okay, task area 3 or task area 4, summarize it, create me a list of key bullet points. So now very quickly, you can see it summarizes that task area, generates me the response. Again, I could go deeper and I could tell the AI to make this more informative, to highlight certain aspects. I could even tell it to analyze and help me strategize how to respond. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, I'm actually going to select a prompt out of the prompt library, and I'm going to go ahead and select the compliance matrix prompt. Now from here, it's as simple as coming in, selecting the task area, the section L, the section M, whatever text I want to actually shred through. I can paste in, and now very quickly it's going to build me this compliance matrix. Now what's unique about using an AI chat like this to build a compliance matrix is it gives you the flexibility, where I'm telling it in columns 4 and columns 5 to identify liability risks, and then also to go in there and identify some ways to respond to these actual requirements, some tips. So generative AI allows you to be very creative as far as how you talk to the system, what you tell it to do, and how you tell it to structure the data. Now next what I'm going to do is go even further. I'm going to tell it to brainstorm a list of 10 different ideas that could actually differentiate us from our competitors. So now very quickly, using the conversational history of this task area, it helps me start to brainstorm 10 different ideas. And again, I could keep going deeper and deeper into these different ideas to extract further insights. Another common use case around capture is I can come in here and I can actually search through my past performances. So I can do a past performance search where I could either select a subset of files or my entire repository. Then I can simply start to ask questions. So here I'm asking the repository of data, what AI projects have we done before and with what agencies? So very quickly the AI goes through all that data, it identifies what agencies we worked with, what were the projects, gives me the data citation so I can verify where the information actually came from. I can even dig in deeper by launching the resource to open up directly to that section. Now again, it's conversational, meaning that I can come over and ask it a follow-up question. So the follow-up question I told it was, I want you to format this as a table, and I'm telling it exactly how the table should be laid out. So I'm telling it column 1 should be the agency, column 2 should be the type of service, and column 3 should be the value proposition. Now I'm telling the AI to use that data to actually build me an executive summary. Now from here, again, I could keep going further. I could tell it to make this longer, make this more detailed. I can tell it here to make it more technical and include some bullet points within the executive summary to make it easier to read. There's really no limitation as far as how you can tell the generative AI to do different things to the text that it generates. But ultimately remember that the AI is designed to get you the first 80-90% of the way there. The final 10% is where you should take this, export it, and start to modify it by putting your own tune to it. So next what I'm going to do is actually do some teaming partner searches. So this time I changed the AI to look at my files, and now it's looking at my teaming partners, people that we've worked with before. Now I'm simply going to come in here and I'm going to start to search through our teaming partners. I'm telling the AI I need a veteran-owned small business to work with us as a subcontractor. They need to have AI experience, and I'm just asking the AI who it actually recommends. So it's looking through all the reports, all the capability statements we have from our teaming partners, and it's recommending who it believes is most relevant to fill in for this. I could keep going further and ask it questions. What I'm actually going to do is just ask it, what are the key points about CyberEdge AI and why it recommended them? So very quickly, it's telling me about their specialty in AI-enabled cybersecurity. It's telling me how they're a VOSB, also an SDVOSB, telling me the key topics about them around their past performance. Next, I can come in here and actually do some competitive intelligence. So what I can do is I can select my competitor reports, which are all the different reports I have of my competitors. Then I can narrow it down to a subset or even a single competitor. Then what I can do is I can come in here, I can say, based on this competitor, build me a SWOT analysis. I could say, analyze their capabilities, analyze their competencies. I could say, build me a market analysis. I'm also telling it here to build me a Porter's 5 Forces analysis. So ultimately, it can go in there, it can analyze the data it has about one of these competitors. You can also point it to a competitor's website to scrape information about them in real time. And then you can tell it any sort of strategic analysis to perform against them. Next, what I'm going to do is come in here, much more of an advanced use case. You can actually give the AI your different roles of your different team members within your BD team. So I'm telling the AI I have 6 weeks to respond. I'm telling it I need a solutions architect, 2 proposal writers, and a proposal manager. I'm telling it that the solicitation is about Army machine learning and AI, and I'm asking it to build me a team based on our core competencies and which of our proposal managers, proposal writers, capture managers have the most experience. So very quickly it goes in there, it helps me build the roster, then it gives me the breakdown of who it selected and why. Then further I could say, okay, I have 6 weeks, so now build me a 6-week response plan, highlighting all the major tasks. And very quickly it does exactly that. Now again, if I don't like this, I can tell it what tasks I actually use, so it's more straightforward to my company. I can tell it to make it more detailed, I can tell it to summarize it. Now let's say we do want to respond. So at this point, I can launch one of our other tools, which we call IntelliBid. IntelliBid allows you to come in here and actually respond to a proposal. So what I can do here is I can select the actual RFI or proposal I'm working on. So now I have my requirements on the left. In the middle, I have my actual draft. So what I can do here is give it some custom information. So I'm telling it to respond using an active voice, highlight our past experiences. I can tell it my differentiators, my strengths, my themes. Then I can come in here and tell it the agency name, the type of system or service. And then simply I can go in here and start to respond using the AI. So before I respond, there's two options here. One, I can use just its training data, or two, I can actually come in here and select the past proposals that I know are most relevant to help guide its answers. So now it's going to ground its answers on things that my company's actually done before. So I can respond to a single requirement at a time, I can respond to an entire section, which I'm doing here, or I can actually respond to entire documents at once. So I'm going to tell the AI, I highlighted 3 requirements, I'm telling it to respond. Now very quickly it's going to start to build out responses for each of these different requirements one by one. And then all the information that it's using is being grounded consistently by actual past performances and past documents that we've used before. Now from here, I could go on, I could do some more. So again, I could highlight another subset of requirements, an entire section, or just a single requirement. I could also come in here and tell it to explain these requirements, give me tips and suggestions, help me strategize. But again, I highlighted 6 more requirements and told it to respond. And now very quickly, it's going to respond to each one of those one by one. Now, once it finishes building those first draft responses, it's very important not to try and submit these. At this point, it just saved you a huge amount of time. Now take that time savings, go back in there and build in an even stronger response. So I can highlight the text as far as editing, and I can tell it a bunch of different options, from summarize to explain to expand. I can also come over here and tell it to turn this into a continuous narrative. So it's taking these bullet points and turning it into multiple paragraphs instead. So now I can delete the previous text. I have a more comprehensive requirement response. And again, I can come back in here and continue to use the AI tools. This time I'm going to tell it to continue writing. So it's going to take those couple paragraphs and continue to writing by adding more detail, more content to that requirement response. Now I can insert it into my draft, remove those previous paragraphs, and then continue with building out that first draft pink team. You could also use the AI chat to come over and tell it any sort of custom settings. So I could tell it to come over here and make it more compelling, change the tone, align the tone, change the style, etc. Now the last thing I want to show you is using a tool called Smart Check. Smart Check allows a proposal writer, or if you're a capture manager or part of the BD team and you get assigned as a reviewer, you can come in here and use Smart Check to perform an unbiased review. What that means is you can feed it the requirement, you can feed it in your response, and ultimately it's going to help you be your co-pilot to very quickly check over your response and give you some feedback to help you maximize your score. So it's important to note that you don't need to take all the feedback the AI gives you, but it is good to review it, as the AI can go very deep very quickly and analyze multiple things. So it can help you analyze for compliance, it can give you reasoning, it can help you check for readability levels, completeness scores, overall evaluation scores. It can also help you come in and check for potential risks in your response, ways to differentiate yourself, and then a list of overall scoring improvement tips. So very quickly, the AI can provide you a very comprehensive report against your response using that requirement. Then I can keep going. I can feed in additional requirements, additional task areas to have it go ahead and review. When I'm done, I could export this as a report. I could give it to the proposal writer. I could also come in, modify it in the text editor, highlighting just the things I think are most important. And then lastly, what you can do is you can actually take the text that it generated, feed it back into the AI, and have it give you a second variant, taking into account any of the feedback that it suggested for you. So I can copy it, I can bring it over, feed it back into the AI, and now the AI very quickly is going to generate me a new draft to that requirement response using that new feedback that it incorporated. Then from here, I could add it back into my draft and then continue through with editing, modifying, building out that final draft all the way to submission. So that was a quick demo of the bidding intelligence system and some of the different ways you can use generative AI to find unique insights and add efficiency into your daily operations. To learn more, you can go to the lohfeldconsulting.com website. Lohfeld Consulting offers proposal and capture professional training courses that are specifically geared towards using generative AI safely and effectively. They also have a YouTube and a Vimeo where you can view more information. You can also view hundreds of different blogs and insight articles directly on the lohfeldconsulting.com website. Additionally, Lohfeld Consulting has over 150 AI-trained proposal experts that can not only help your companies learn how to safely and effectively use AI, but also help you respond to opportunities. Lastly, the Lohfeld AI Proposal Development Center allows your organizations to quickly sign up and start to use the benefits of generative AI today. So now we can open up the floor to any questions you might have about any of the content you saw today or anything related to generative AI in capture and proposal operations.